Thank you so much for coming to my little presentation about Mount Everest. My name is Billi. I'm from Germany, and I've been in Pakistan on and off since 2009. And I have to admit that I've never climbed a big mountain in Pakistan, but there is a plan. But I've been to K2 Base Camp in Pakistan, which is beautiful. And I obviously spent a lot of time in the Himalaya. And I have to say that the Karakoram is even more dramatic. But anyway, first of all, I'd like to thank Kuch Khaas to make this, that they're making this little event possible. It was just an idea I had. I just thought, well, you know, people are normally quite interested in, you know, how does an Everest expedition work? I mean, it shouldn't be so much about me. I mean, of course, it's me climbing also. Okay, my title, a lot of people always laugh at my title, The Other Day on Everest. You know, why The Other Day on Everest? When I was looking for a title, you know, I didn't want to have anything, into the death zone or whatever. I mean, people always make it sound so dramatic because it's the highest mountain in the world and we're in the death zone. And for me, it was just, I mean, saying that it was just another day is probably a little bit of an understatement, but yeah, it's you know, you work your way up there and you get there, it's like, you know, I mean, all of us, you know, some of you have to climb an Everest every single day of their lives. And yes, it was another day. It was the other day on Everest for me. Now, a lot of people always ask, why do you want to climb Everest? I mean, there are so many people nowadays go and climb Everest. I mean, I'll throw a number at you. I just spoke to my colleague before I came here, and I said, how many people do you think climbed Everest? And she said, was it more than 100? And I just thought, oh no, now she probably thinks I'm a lot less special because it's been 3,500 people have climbed Everest so far. It was first climbed in 1953 by Sherpa Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary. And since then, 3,500 times. But between 53, when it was first climbed, and about 98, so let's say about those 40 years, probably 500 people have climbed Everest. And then after 98, or maybe 96 even, there was a big disaster in 96. Some of you may have read the book Into Thin Air, where 11 people died in a single night. Right, so where do you climb Everest from? There are two, you know, I mean, there are two places where you climb Everest from. It's either from Nepal, it's the south side. So the first picture you saw of Everest that was taken in from Nepal, but you also can go from Tibet, so from the north side. Now, I decided to climb Mount Everest from the Nepalese side because, you know, that's where I live and that's the country I love. So I went from Nepal. Now, when you start from Nepal, you start in a small Dornier plain and you go to Lukla, apparently one of the most dangerous airports in the world. It's like the death zone, it's all very dramatic. And then your first day, you walk to a village called Namche Bazaar, which lies at 3,300 meters. And a lot of people already start having a headache there. You know, whether you're a trekker or a climber, it doesn't matter whether you're Reinhold Messner, I don't know whether you've heard of him, or you know, Nazir Zabir, who's the first Pakistani who climbed Everest, you have to acclimatize. Every time I go, even though I go twice a year, I go and try to climb a high mountain, I have to acclimatize. Your acclimatization, this means your body adapting to the high altitude, only lasts for 2 weeks once you come down. So then you just trek along. As I said, your trek to Everest Base Camp takes about 10 days. I mean, I have done it in 2.5 days, but I had an amazing, you know, big headache when I got there because it's just a small word on acclimatization. When you go high, your body acclimatizes. And when I say your body acclimatizes, your body develops, or your blood creates more red blood cells. These are the ones who carry oxygen. Now, at high altitude, there is less, the oxygen is less dense. Okay, I'm not a scientist, so I might be explaining it wrong, but basically, in order for your body to get enough oxygen, your blood creates red blood cells. And if you go quickly to Everest Base Camp, like I did in 2.5 days, your blood can't keep up. So by the time you get to base camp, you don't have enough red blood cells, you know, to carry the oxygen. And that's why, I mean, most people, they go to altitude, they get headaches and they don't feel well. But, you know, if it's only a slight headache, it goes away, and yeah. So that mountain here on the left is called Amadablam, and most people maybe know it from this side. It's also called the Matterhorn of Asia. It's for me, one of the most beautiful mountains, and you see that on your way to Everest. It's much more beautiful than Everest. It's a lot lower than Everest. It's just below 7,000. And it's technically probably harder than Everest. I've never climbed this mountain, but it's on my list. That's just another photo, classic, of a porter walking towards base camp. It's just a bit of a view what the mountains look like. And then, yes, after your 10 days, you get to base camp. Now, what you see there, this is only the base camp for my one expedition. And I have to repeat it again. I went with a commercial expedition. So when I say what is the difference? What is a commercial expedition? A commercial expedition is where I go on the internet and I think, right, I want to climb Everest, and there are, like, you know, big operators, and I contact them and then, you know, see whether they will take me to Everest or whether they won't, you know. I mean, it's a bit tricky. They get criticized very often because they do take people who may not have the right experience, but they have the money. Now, I personally paid 35,000 euros for my Everest expedition. My friends drive cars that are more expensive, but it was a lot of money for me. I mean, it took me, you know, I spent all my money on it. I was doubting whether it was actually that important to me, but I was already, you know, once you say you do it, okay, you go with the flow. Now, the price you climb Everest ranges between $20,000 and now $75,000. Anyway, so you sit and you drink coffee. And yeah, that's just for a quick word about the trekkers. In 2009, now some people, I think, you know, the Nepali government has banned it, which is a real shame. In 2009, they had a little Everest Base bakery. So one Sherpa just set up this bakery. You could actually get cafe lattes in there and apple strudel. And it was a great place for the trekkers to go because, like I said, you know, for the trekkers, trekking to base camp, it's a trip of a lifetime. And it is. Now, they come to base camp, and if you go to base camp at a time when there is an expedition going, you know, you want to talk to the climbers. They don't want to talk to you. Oh, you're a trekker, and you could bring bacteria. You know, you could infect them. And of course, I partly understand, you know, a common cold may not stop you from running a half marathon, but it probably stops you from climbing Everest. So you really don't want to have a cold. Now, there is a lot of stuff going on in the tea houses from down below, and so, you know, people don't really want to hang out with the trekkers. But I always feel really sorry, you know, for the trekkers when they come, and I would love to invite them to our camp, but Russell is very particular, so okay. So they had this really little place where they had their coffee and their croissant or apple strudel, and then they could go back. Now, this is not a photo. I don't have a pointer, but I'm pointing with this thing. This is actually a drawing. Now, this is just because now we're on our summit push. We're getting there, I promise. Now, this is base camp is here. This is the ice fall, which you saw, and you will see a few more pictures. About up here is Camp 2, 6,400 meters. And then, this is the Lhotse face. This is Lhotse. Your Camp 3, 7,300 meters, is here. Now, I could never pitch a tent up there. I can sleep in a tent up there, obviously, but, you know, the Sherpas hack out platform, but you'll see pictures later. Oh, this is me. I just thought I should one picture of me so you believe me that I was there. Very, very happy. I've probably just crossed a ladder with my big boots. You see these big mountain boots? They cost about $1,000 or even more. They're supposed to keep your feet warm. Now, this is the Western Cwm, this amazing place. And there's one thing about the Western Cwm. We are here at about 6,400 meters. You think it's cold. It's bloody cold once the sun goes down. When there's sun in the Western Cone, which is like a bowl, we get to 35, 40 degrees, and it's excruciating. It's awful. So that's why, again, you want to start early. If you're in the sun there, it's no fun. And then you get to Camp 2, which is, Camp 2 is also pretty good. I mean, we actually have a proper mess tent at Camp 2. We have a kitchen team. So, it's quite a barren place. But I just, again, show you the route I showed you before. Now, this is Camp 2. Here's the Lhotse face. Camp 3 is about here. And then we go here over the yellow band and up to the summit. So, your Camp 3, 7,300 meters is up there. But we had a day to rest at, oh no, there's another photo. You see the line of people going up the Lhotse face. And Camp 3 goes from down here to up there. Now, okay, there are people out there, and I can see why they say, oh, everybody gets piggybacked up Everest. And even though I just said 95% of the people couldn't climb it without Sherpas, you have to put one foot in front of the other yourself. Nobody carries you up. Sherpas are strong, but, they may drag you down, but going up, you have to do it yourself. And these are the final steps. The big mountain in the back is Makalu. Those who know me, they know I tried to climb this year. I didn't get up. I didn't get to the top. But anyway, so it is pretty amazing. And also, it's something people always told me, you see the earth curve from the top of Everest. And it's true. I mean, I'm not sure whether it comes out in this photo, but you can see the curve of the earth. We're nearly there. Nearly there, nearly on the summit, the last 2 or 3 meters. And there we are. That is the summit of Mount Everest. We're not quite finished yet, though. This little box was taken up by a Sherpa in 2006. I have no idea how much it weighs. 2006, apparently I've heard it's still up there. It was just a little shrine from, somebody who took it up. And now this is my summit photo, and I was, you can't really recognize me because I'm wearing, you see I'm wearing my oxygen mask. And I remember Dino said, Billy, take your mask off. And I said, no, it's too cold. And I just want to say one, I'm holding, because people leave stuff on Mount Everest and everybody takes something up. And I said, well, what am I going to take up? And I took up this photo. And this is just always a word I say about this man here who's my dad, who passed away 6 years ago, and who I don't know, I always want, when I'm at this point, I always want to thank him, because without him, I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't have made this. He was an amazing sportsman. He was so encouraging, and he would have been so proud of me had he known. He would have been very, he would have, my mother actually said, thank God your dad wasn't alive and you climbed Everest, because he probably wouldn't have had, he would have had sleepless nights. Now we're nearly there, and this is another, I had 2 amazing moments on Everest, the one when I saw the summit, and the other one when I came down. And that, there were 24 people on our expedition. There were people whose childhood dream was Everest. All they wanted to do is climb Everest. They invested, it's not only those 7 weeks you invest, you invest a year, you train, you make sure somebody's taking over your company, it's the time, it's the money, it's your childhood dream. And then you have a common cold, or you have an upset stomach, or you have a toothache, or you just don't acclimatize and you have to turn around. So there we are, we're back on the ground, and I hope I haven't kept you for too long. I know, I'm only 19 minutes over. Anyway, so thank you very much for coming to the top of Mount Everest with me. I hope you enjoyed it a little bit, and